Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Straight Up Christian Podcast. I'm your host, Blair, and as always, I am so excited about today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed last week's episode with my sweet friend Olivia talking about what the Lord is teaching us in this season. If you have not had the chance to listen, I'll put a card on the screen for you to click after you watch this episode or listen to this episode. But I am so excited about today's conversation because I'll be having my best friend Kaleigh on. And when I was looking back on all the different types of podcasts that I've done, I realized that when I've had a guest on, I've always only really done like topical podcasts, like talking about a certain topic, never really interviewed anyone. So that's the route we're going to take with this podcast, and I'm so excited for you all to hear Kaleigh's story and all the ways that God has worked throughout her life. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So I'm so excited to have my best friend back on again because we always have such a good time. And this is Kaleigh's third episode on the pod. So she's basically a pro at this point. She should start her own podcast.
Right. I think I'll just stick with my friend Blair's.
But as I said in the intro, I'm kind of switching things up today and decided to do interview style. And I really wanted to interview Kaleigh because she just has such an amazing story. And I want you to hear all that the Lord has done in her life and is doing in her life. It's going to be so good. So we're going to jump right in with the very first question. Oh, sorry. Had a little choke up there. With the very first question, and this is just going to be, can you introduce yourself to everyone and also share like a medium length version of your testimony?
Yes, of course. So like she said, my name is Kaleigh. I'm a sophomore here at Highlands College in the family major. About my testimony, I think the majority of my testimony is mainly my high school years, but so I didn't really grow up in church. I guess you could say I went sometimes on the weekends with my grandparents, but it wasn't super consistent. It was not a big thing in my house. And so it was about middle school, and my sister invited me to go to this church, but it was a very dry relationship. I never asked Jesus into my heart at this point whenever I was going to church. And then fast forward high school, my friend invited me to this thing called Collective. It's where all of our campuses come together for a big youth night, and I loved it. I fell in love with the people, how people were loving one another, and also I really just wanted to hang out with my friends. So, started attending our youth nights a little bit more. Still never asked Jesus into my heart about 2 years into the youth nights. Because I thought, I go to church, I'm good, I'm fine, we live in the Bible Belt, of course I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
And so then it was my junior year of high school, still never asked Jesus into my heart, got into a relationship, and it was where I was very immature in my faith, because he was carrying the weight of a relationship with God for the both of us. Sorry, that was a tongue twister, but he was carrying the weight of a relationship with God for the both of us. So it did not end up working out because of that. But through that, I realized, wow, I need to get it together. My senior year of high school, I decided that I was going to just follow the ways of the world and just fill the God-sized hole in my heart with very fluid things, just things that were not good for me. But it was my senior year of church camp, and there was a message. I don't remember a single thing that my pastor said in the message, but at the end, he was like, I feel like there's some people here that have a stirring in their heart, and have been going to church for a while, and want to give their life to Jesus. And I was like, oh, that's me. I need to do that. So I remember running down to the altar with one of my best friends, and we gave our lives to Jesus. And in that same one, I was called into ministry. So it was a complete 180 from the life I was living and I've never looked back since. So here I am.
Isn't that just so good? I love it because I think that it's very relatable, especially in the South. Like, we're both from the quote-unquote Bible Belt, where everyone is a Christian. It's not normal to not be a Christian. And so many people think like, oh yeah, I go to church, I'm a Christian, but I do all of these unholy things on the weekend. And sin is still a thing that's prevalent whenever you're saved, but it's also like this mindset shift whenever you fully give your heart to the Lord. And I think it's just not really talked about much where we live, because it's just so normal to go to church on Sunday and never spend any alone time with the Lord the rest of the week, and then you consider yourself a Christian, yet you have no personal relationship with Jesus. And it is so sad, because that is the lifestyle that's going to get you to heaven, not to heaven, and you're sitting there on Judgment Day thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to heaven, I'm a Christian, and then Jesus says, depart from me, for I never knew you. And
relationship.
So I just think it's so cool, because I have a similar story, like kind of in and out of church. It wasn't really like our thing, but I still considered myself a Christian. And then it was like clicked with me one day, wait a minute, no, I'm not. Like, I'm literally like not a Christian. So it's just so cool to have those stories. And I think it's so important to share, because my audience is largely people that I know, people I went to high school with, or people that are here at HC. And I want people at my high school to hear that and know that just because you go to church on Sunday, like, there has to be a relationship with God throughout the week. There has to be true surrender, or I'm sorry, but are you really saved? And that's a question to grapple with, and not to be mean about, but it's the question that got me thinking about my faith. The question, are you actually saved? Or do you just think
it's very truthful, like, as much as it might hurt your heart to hear, like, oh, but like you said, it's something to think about, something to really dive into. So I like that.
And if you are a saved Christian, you've had a moment with the Lord, don't let the enemy take that question and make you overthink about it, because I've also had that in my walk with God as well.
Definitely.
I'm just like, am I actually saved, after I knew that I was truly saved? So don't overthink it, but if you're kind of on that questioning, you're like, I don't really know. Grapple with that question a little bit more.
Definitely.
All right, now we're on to the next question, and this one is really juicy. I know all the answers to these questions, I feel like. So I'm just like,
Because we're best friends.
So I already know everything. But this next one is, how did you end up at HC, and kind of share about, like, what has changed since you got here versus to now, that, like, you didn't see coming.
Wow. Okay.
When you first came in.
A lot to unpack here. So, starting with how I got to HC. So, previously, like I said, when I was sharing my testimony, I got called to ministry at the same church camp that I got saved at. And I immediately went home, told my parents, because I was on scholarship for cheerleading at another college. And so then I went to a ministry school within my church back home, and it was great, but I felt like there's something more that the Lord had for me, but I didn't quite know what that was. So I was sitting in the kitchen at my boyfriend's house, and his mom was like, hey, have you ever heard of Highlands College? Me not being raised in church, I was like, Highlands College? What is that? Heck no, no way. It's in Birmingham. I am not moving to Birmingham. But I was like, whatever. I'll just look into it. It just, whatever. She wants me to look, I'll look. So I looked into it, and I was like, oh, this looks pretty nice, but there's no way I'm moving out of my hometown. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll just apply and see what happens. I wasn't expecting to get in, whatever. And I got in, and I was like, okay, well, I can't pay that tuition by myself. I'm going to need some scholarships. So I applied for scholarships, and the Lord obviously made a way. But I was still kind of going back and forth about it, you could say. I was like, well, is this really what the Lord has for me? I'm in a ministry school right now. Like, I'm learning and growing so much. And then I was on a mission trip in Honduras. And the Lord had given me a vision of this lady with dark curled hair and wearing this red shirt. And then whenever I'd gotten on my interview, it was a Zoom call for Highlands College. The girl that answered the Zoom call was the same girl that the Lord gave me the vision of. And when I answered, it was like a mouth on the floor moment. I was like, this is so crazy and you're never going to believe it, but the Lord gave me a vision of you. She was like, what the heck? Like, it was just it was really so cool. And just the confirmation, the way that it was confirmed and just multiple things lining up. So that is how I've gotten here. And what was the second part? How is it?
Like, what was your surprise?
What was my surprise?
That the Lord did. You came in thinking one thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I came in strictly doing the 2 years. I said, I've done a year of college before this. I'm not doing 5 years of college because I personally am not the biggest school person. So I was like, absolutely not. I'm not doing 4 years. That's crazy. Y'all are crazy.
Trying to get married.
Yeah. I was trying to get married. I was trying to get a job, move on with life, you know. But it was honestly, I never had released it to God and asked him, what do you want me to do? What is your opinion in this? It was just something that I had gathered for myself. And I think it was over Christmas break, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It was over Christmas break because I remember coming back and telling y'all because I wanted to tell y'all in person.
And this was me.
Yeah. And I was like, guys, I'm switching to the 4 year. And everybody was like, whoa, because they knew how strict I was on only doing 2 years. But looking back, I just did not release it to God at all. I was like, no, this is what I want to do. I am not a school person, so I am not going to do 4 years. But whenever I finally asked God, hey, what do you want me to do? He was like, you need some more preparation, girlfriend. You stay in there for 4 years. But now, looking at it, I'm so thankful because in 4 months or whenever 5 months we're graduating, I don't think, truthfully, I would feel prepared enough to go out there and lead something. So I'm very thankful because I love this college and I love where I'm at and the people I'm surrounded with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and just the growth that has happened from when I started Highlands College to now. It's because you're like, oh, I'm good. I think I'm good. I read my Bible.
Yeah.
You know? Then you look back and you're like, dang, what was I doing? And then I know I'm going to look back a year from now and be like, and I thought I was good then? Girl,
Literally.
get it together. So it's just crazy all that can happen in just one singular year.
Yeah. What's also crazy to me is, like, when you're in something, you don't see how profound it is, I guess. Yeah. But, like, throughout your story, it is a story of surrender. Because you literally surrendered your college career of cheerleading to go to a ministry school, a small ministry school. And then you surrendered your comfort of being there to come here. And then now you surrendered your comfort of doing the 2 years to do the 4 years. So you look back and you're like, I wasn't surrendering anything. But I hear the story and I'm like, but yes, you were. Because the whole, maybe not the whole time, maybe it took a little bit of nudging from the Lord.
Definitely.
But you still had a heart of surrender. And when you heard it, you knew that you couldn't ignore it. Yeah. And so I just honor you for that. Because
Thanks,
Kaleigh really does have like a heart of like, oh, the Lord said this. What I'm not doing. Like, I'm doing whatever the Lord says. And it's so funny because I feel like, again, our stories are a little bit similar when it comes to doing the 2 or 4 year program here at HC, because I came in and I was like, I'm doing the 4 year program. I'm like the first kid in my family to go to college. Like, I have to do this. This is what everyone expects of me. But I'm so stressed because all this stuff back home. And I love this school, but I don't know if I can do 4 years of school. But like, I have to do 4 years. Like, I have to do 4 years. That's what everyone expects of me. You can't do anything nowadays without a bachelor's degree, like all this stuff. And my friends saw I wrestled with it for months. And honestly, still do wrestle with it because a lot of the adults in my life don't want me to do the 2 year. And that's totally okay. But I think the Lord just made it so clear for me through Kaleigh and through many other things that like the 2-year program is for me, and that he has more for me after this. And I know that I won't be perfect, but also I'm ready to learn outside of a school environment. Like I want to get in a church and learn how to do things. And not that there's anything wrong with staying in school.
For sure. Because I was going to say, like, everyone's on their own race. Everyone has their own, like, preparation and quiet place. You know what I mean? Just because it takes more for me doesn't mean any less of you.
Right.
Because I feel like so many people are like, oh, I'm not staying for the 4-year degree. I'm only doing 2 years. Or people, maybe that didn't even go to ministry school. They're like, oh, I'm not good enough, you know. But the Lord has us each on our own path for a specific reason.
Yeah.
So.
And just, like, I'm really going to try to work on, after HC, like, being a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
And trying to stay, like, learning different things about the Bible, learning different methods of teaching for whatever demographic I'm teaching for, whether that be kids or adults or youth or college age. Like, so just, you don't have to be in college to be a learner. Yeah. You can learn doing anything, pick up a book, pick up a commentary about the Bible. Like, I didn't even know what a commentary was before I came to HC.
Yeah.
And then they were like, use the commentaries in the library. And I was like, the what?
Who now?
And those things are literally gold because they help you understand things so much.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy how the Lord works and how He's just switched our lives around.
We did a 180. We flipped positions.
Yes, we did.
I'm going to be so sad when she's gone. But that's okay.
Yeah, we're going to have to, like, visit each other once a week or something.
Of course, duh.
We live together right now.
We do.
In the same room.
In the same room. And we talk to each other every single night.
I don't know what we're going to do. It's actually really sad.
That's okay. It's going to be great.
Yeah. We have next semester, even though this semester's already gone by.
We just won't talk about it.
Fast. Yeah. Shh. We're not talking about it.
Oh, man.
On to the next question. The next question is one that I feel like so many young people are literally stressed out about.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wanted to ask you about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll give my input, of course, later. But the question is, what do you think God is calling you to do with your life?
Wow, I feel like I could sit and talk about this for 30 minutes because it is so prevalent, not even in just this young generation, but even in ministry school too. So, blanket statement, I'm called to ministry. I know forever that I will be a minister of the gospel, however, I don't think I will always be working in a church. I could see myself, all my life I wanted to be a teacher. That's what I wanted to do as soon as I finished kindergarten. I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. And so I could see myself working in a school. However, I would say we're all called to ministry. We're all called to bear the weight and carry the gospel and spread it to other people. But I think what I'm passionate about, because I think that, like I said, we're all called, but we all have different passions.
Yep.
We all have different things that we really love and we really want to chase after. But I would say my passions, as of right now, because I feel like it kind of changes depending on the season, as of right now, is probably women and children.
Yeah.
Those are my two ones. And, women, children, but also college students searching for what college they want to go to, which sounds so specific and crazy, but I'm on the ambassador team for Highlands College, so getting to talk to students that are like, they may not even end up here. I just love getting to talk to them and meet them and get to walk with them through that journey. But it was not always this way, because all my life I've just loved children so much. They've had such a special place in my heart. They've been naturally just like attracted to me. I've just had a very just a love for kids my entire life. So,
nurturing, very nurturing.
Yes, that's a good word. But so whenever I thought I got called to ministry, I'm doing kids ministry. It wasn't even a question. It was never, what do I want to do? Or what, Lord, do you want me to do? It was just, oh, I'm going to do kids ministry, and that's it for the rest of my life. I'm going to be 85 years old being a kids pastor or something, you know? But I've realized over time that it's not just kids ministry. Like, kids ministry is not my calling. My calling is to share the gospel. I'm passionate about kids, however, because I think so many times this younger generation, even people at Highlands College, they call themselves, honestly, to a title or a position rather than people.
Dang, preach!
Yeah, that was the Holy Spirit. That wasn't me, because Lord knows I couldn't think of that. But anyways, I just feel like it's so prevalent in this day and age, because I feel like we're all such planners and we all want to have this perfect life set out in front of us. But I think in different seasons of your life, you'll be passionate about different things.
Yes.
Right now, those are my top 3 passions. But maybe in 3 years, I'll be passionate about outreach and missions and reaching the lost. But in 3 more years, I'll be passionate about youth students and just helping them find their way in high school and middle school and stuff. So I think it's different in every season. But that is what I believe that the Lord is calling to. Lord has put the passions inside of me. Let me correct my language.
Yes. That was so good, honestly. Because I was going to talk about how calling is just kind of like this big thing in the Americanized church.
Yeah.
And we're all like, what has God called you to? And what is God calling you to for the rest of your life? And like, even if you look at pastors today, a lot of them didn't start out doing what they're doing. And this is something that I appreciate that HC taught us early on, freshman year, was like, your calling doesn't have to be this big thing. Some people do get visions from the Lord, and like, they're like, I know that right after HC, I'm planning a church, and because the Lord has told me that this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
But other people are like, I'm coasting, baby.
Yeah.
I'm just going with whatever the Lord has for me in this season. And I was literally talking to them the other day, because I was like, I just don't know what I feel like I'm called to, because I feel like I have such a passion for kids, but also for youth, and then also for missions, and then like I was talking about earlier, people who think they're saved, but they're actually not. And I just started serving on the corrections team at Church of the Highlands, and that has completely changed my life in like the last month and given me such a different outlook on everything. So I feel like I'm like, what am I supposed to do with my life? Like, am I supposed to be a missionary? Am I supposed to be a kids pastor? Like, what does that look like? And I just have to remind myself to be faithful with what the Lord has put in front of me right now. And someone who is faithful, Kaleigh is faithful in what the Lord gives her. Like, faithful with serving in kids, faithful with serving in ambassadors, faithful with your job, faithful with your schoolwork, faithful with your man, faithful with me, your best friend. Sorry, I couldn't not do the rhyme. But, like, you are so faithful. And that's also another reason why I wanted you to talk about this, is because even thinking about the parable of the talents, like, be faithful with what the Lord gives you and try to multiply that. Like, being faithful at your work and trying to multiply the salvations there by being kind, by loving, by inviting. And, like, through my podcast, I'm just trying to be faithful with this. This is so hard. Like, I will be so honest. I feel like it takes so much work, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. But this is what the Lord has given me in this season. And it might not last forever. It might not be around in 5 years. Who knows? But for right now, it is here. And there are people who watch it, so I'm going to be faithful with it. So if you're having that, like, struggle of calling, I really would just say, be faithful with what the Lord has given you right now. If the Lord has given you a volunteer position at your church, be faithful with that. Your job, be faithful with that. Your family who you live with, be faithful to your family. So, kind of like what you said, the Lord has called us all to be ministers of the gospel, the Great Commission. No matter where you are, what you do, where you work, whatever, like, you're called to spread the gospel.
Yeah.
But he gives us all different passions and things that we, like, gravitate towards or relate to. And often those things are part of our own story.
Yeah. And I think it's so easy to compare what other people are doing because it's so easy to forget that, oh, we're all just ministers of the gospel. But the extra things that the Lord adds in, it's so easy to compare. Like someone immediately after Highlands College going off and getting this crazy job and making a bunch of money at this mega church and stuff. But then you have someone over here that didn't get a job, is working in a restaurant, and just serving the church. You know, it's so easy to just look and see. But like I said earlier, we're all on our own race. And it just keeps popping up in my head. If it's from God, then it's good.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important to remember.
Yeah. Because where someone else is thriving, like, that could, if you were put there, it could drain you.
Yeah.
I don't know how to make that a one-liner. But, like,
it's true.
Someone else's thriving area could be, like, your downfall area.
Yeah, your breaking
and
point.
could be the thing that makes you, like, I'm done with all of this.
Yeah.
It's so easy to, what's the word, like, covet other people's things. But you don't see the hard work that people put in. And it also goes along with the whole body of Christ. If I want to be an arm like Kaleigh's an arm, then I'll never be the pinky toe.
There you go.
And we need pinky toes.
We do. Pinky
we?
toes. Yeah, we do, Blair. We'll call it a big toe. How about that?
Big toe. You for sure need your big toe. That balances you. I know that.
Yeah. And Blair balances me. So look at us, body of Christ right here.
And you lift me up.
Right. I try, I guess.
All right, on to our second to last question, which my last podcast with Olivia was about this one question, and that is, what is the Lord teaching you right now, or what are you learning right now in this season of your life?
Yes, so I was kind of wrestling with this a little bit, like, probably about a month ago. I was like, what am I supposed to be, like, doing something else? I just feel like I don't really know what's happening in my life right now. But I feel like something that I've really learned right now is just, honestly, your mindset towards things really affects a big part of your life. It affects the gratefulness you have for the things around you. It affects just your daily view of things. It affects the way you see people. The way you love people, you know. It just affects a lot of things, because I noticed so many times of me just being like, I have to do this. And I know it's such a cliche thing, and I hated hearing it whenever I didn't believe it. But we truly get to do this because there's nowhere else in the world that we get to be at a college like this and have best friends like Blair. But it just really, truly affects all parts of your life, because whenever... I would say that one in comparison is the thief of joy. And that's been something I've been saying a lot around here, because, like I said, your mindset affects so much, because whenever you're comparing and you're just like, I don't have this, I didn't get that position, I didn't get asked to do this, that is stealing my joy, because guess what? If I wouldn't have known that before, I would have been just as happy, you know, or I would have been happy. But also just the outlook you have on life, because it's so easy to say, I have to go to work. No, I'm excited that I get to go to work and share the gospel with people. I'm thankful that I have a job that gives me money so I can continue to be at this college. And I'm thankful that I get to get up at 4 a.m. and serve prospective students and serve the veterans that are coming here. And I just know, hearing that phrase when I first started ministry school, and I was like, you don't be quiet right now. I don't want to do it. But it really has just been something that keeps popping up in my mind, is that, and just that the comparison is the thief of joy. Because it really is so true if you think about it. Because if you don't compare to somebody else, you're living in your happy little bubble over here. But whenever you reach outside your bubble to see what someone else is doing, then that's when all the comparison leaks into the hole in your bubble.
You pop your bubble.
Yes. Keep a bubble. No comparison in my bubble.
Yeah. And joy really is a choice. It's kind of like love. Like, I don't have to love Kaleigh. Like,
That'd be a sad
but
life.
I want to.
Yeah.
And, this kind of goes with friendships and relationships too, but there's a honeymoon phase for everything. Yeah. There's a honeymoon phase for HC. Yeah. You come in first semester, oh my gosh, freshman year, everything's new. You come in first semester of your sophomore year, you're used to it all. Mm-hmm. It's all like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. And I can admit that I haven't always had the best mindset this semester. And so when Kaleigh has been reminding us a lot of like, I'm trying to have a good mindset and I'm trying to do this, I'm like, I need to have a better mindset because I am just being Miss Complainer over here, and I'm like, I don't want to do this and this shouldn't be like that. But freshman year, Blair was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool and this is so great and la la la. Choosing joy. Mm-hmm. Choosing to remember the joy that I had when I first came in. Mm-hmm. Me and Kaleigh are past the honeymoon phase of our friendship. We get in tippies. We get mad at each other. Like, not very often, though. But
we're just like, me so for real right now.
Or like, we were talking the other night. Like, I personally would just overthink small things and be like, well, she definitely did this on purpose. And I'm like, no, that girl literally did not do that on purpose.
I'm in my own world.
She is in her own world. But it's just like choosing love, choosing to love the people around you when it gets past the shock and awe part of your relationship, and also choosing joy when you get used to things. Because if you're going into full-time ministry, let me tell you, I did an internship over the summer, and it was fun for the first, 3 weeks. And I had to remind myself what you just said. Yeah. Like, I don't have to do this. I get to do this. I was blessed with the opportunity to have an internship at my home church and to be chosen to be here. Yeah. And although this might be frustrating sometimes, I remember the first week I was here, I was eating it up. Yeah. Packing my lunch and bringing my bag and waking up early. Yeah. So we gotta have
it's funny to look back on.
It is. Even for here at school, it's first semester, you just gotta look back and remember the times that it was joyful and fun. And even with discovery days, sometimes it's oh, gotta wake up at 4, gotta be there at 6, gonna be there until 4 in the afternoon. Yeah. I'm tired. Yeah. But then it's well, first discovery day was amazing. And remember that joy and excitement.
Woke up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to meet some people.
Look at my new shirt.
Yeah. Ooh, who's gonna go in first?
Literally. So, yeah, I like that the Lord is teaching you that, because whatever the Lord is teaching Kaleigh, He's often teaching me as well. Because I hear, comparison is the thief of joy, Blair. And you have to have a good mindset, Blair. I'm trying to change my mindset, Blair. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I need to change mine.
Yes, Lord's teaching it to me too. No.
But I guess that's just what happens when you live in close proximity with people. Because it's we're going through the same thing. And she's like, oh, the Lord convicted me of this. And I'm like, well, dang, now that's kind of convicted me too.
Hey, got that secondhand conviction.
Literally, that's so real. It's well, now that you said something about it.
Ooh, dang.
I knew something fell off.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and jump to the next question.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm really excited to hear.
Yeah.
And it is, if you could give past you any piece of advice, what would it be?
Yeah. This is such a big question, because it's you get one sentence. One singular sentence.
One piece.
I think, kind of like I said earlier, I told Blair that I wanted to save it for the end, but I ended up spilling the beans early, whatever. But if it's from God, then it's good. Because I think so many times in my life, looking back, oh, I have to give up my cheer scholarship. I have to give up my fully paid for school to pay for a school. And then, I have to go to Birmingham. I don't want to go to Birmingham.
Yeah.
But each of those things was from the Lord. And each of them has had so much fruit from it, so much growth in it. And I think even just in our day-to-day lives, trying to think of it, in relationships, in the moment when I'm like, Blair, da-da-da-da. No, this relationship is good because it's from the Lord and it produces so much fruit and just so many good things. And there was something else I was going to say, but I did bring a Bible verse to go with it. And it's in Proverbs 3:5-6. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him and he will make your path straight. Like, just reading that, I know that's a very prevalent verse and a lot of people put it in their Instagram bio, because it's cute or whatever. But I do think that it holds a lot of weight because aren't we grateful to serve a God that doesn't listen to us and doesn't hear, like when he hears our cries, he's like, but I have something so much better for you. Because if you think about it, I heard someone say this before, I can't remember who, but they were like, aren't you thankful that God didn't listen to you when you're crying out in this situation? Like, I just want to stay with this guy so bad, but looking back, you were like, what was happening in my life at that time? I'm so thankful that I get to serve a God that, like, sends me such good things that in the moment it's so hard to fathom and grasp how this can be good. But in the end, you look back, look in hindsight, and you're like, wow, that was amazing. So,
all right. So I have something to add to that, but we had to cut the clip because it got a little too long. Anyways, what she said reminds me of like my tattoo that I have right here. If you can't see it, it says Psalm 126. I'm going to explain it. Kaleigh's like,
should I flip in my Bible?
I knew that's what you were thinking. Kaleigh gave me that look. One thing about Kaleigh is she does not hide her thoughts with her face.
And I don't even realize it, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Because that's why I have my friend Blair.
Because I do correct her.
Fix that face, girl.
Kaleigh, quit making that face. Anyways, but this tattoo I got because, and people expect me to like know the whole chapter.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm sorry. I just sum it up. It is tattooed on my body, but it's because when I was going through a very hard season of my life, I had lost all of my friends and I was just so lonely, had no girlfriends, and I was on the floor in my room crying my eyeballs out, and I was like, Lord, why did you take away all of my friends? Like, I am so sad. And it was the first time the Lord had ever spoken scripture directly to my situation. And so I just heard him say, go read Psalm 126. And I was like, that wasn't the Lord. That was just literally me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't remember where I'd heard it before, but someone saying, like, if you don't know if it's God, what's the harm in looking? Because it's the Bible.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So I was like, you know what? There's no harm in looking. It's literally the Bible. So let me just go look. And in that psalm, it talks about, like, what you sow in tears, you will reap with tears of joy, or something along those lines. And it completely obliterated me because I was so sad. And it's crazy because I have this tattooed on me. I was crying about friends, and I cried more about friends for years and prayed more, and now I'm literally reaping in tears probably in a few months when I have to leave. And we've had many good cries together as a friend group. I'm reaping those tears of joy right now from those tears of sadness, and all because I couldn't see that although it hurt and it was painful, it was good for me. And it was a pruning season. Kind of what Jenny Lusko was in our student section. Session last night. Yesterday morning.
It's okay. You'll get it
Let
one
me
day.
rephrase. Jenny Lusko was in our student leader session yesterday morning.
There we go.
And she was talking about being like rooted to the tree, Jesus. And we're the branches, but branches either fall off, they break off, or they're pruned.
Yeah.
And pruning, although it hurts and things are trimmed off of the branches, it's good for the branches. And that was like so good. And I'm glad I remembered that because normally I forget. what people say in sessions.
Yeah.
But I feel like that applies so well here because although it doesn't feel good in the moment, later on it will be good. And you're still rooted to the tree.
Yes.
And what was the verse that she said with that? John 5:15?
Maybe.
John 15:5?
I think it was something about that. Maybe you have it's one with like
I think it's
15:5 or
5:15.
5:15. I don't know. It's okay. It's one of those.
But it's funny because when I was thinking of this question, all I could think about was boys. Like, I would tell myself that the world is bigger than a boy's opinion about you.
Oof.
Like,
High school me? What
high school me
What?
was so caught up
Yeah.
in, am I attractive? Am I hot? Am I
Yeah.
sexy to this guy? Does he think I'm cool? Does he want me? Hello?
Yeah.
They don't want nor need me. Like, my future husband is the only person that is supposed to want me.
Yeah.
And if you are a young girl listening to this, that would be my single piece of advice for you. Your life is so much bigger, better, greater than some random boy's opinion who probably doesn't even have a relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
And that's just so real. So, that's my piece of advice.
Yeah. And that's really good because I just know I've grown a lot within myself of having confidence in myself because I used to rely so heavily on a guy's compliments, on him saying that I looked beautiful, whatever,
Right.
commenting on me. I used to rely so heavily in my self-confidence on that. But whenever I finally decided that like in the Bible it says that words should be like oil and roll off of you. And that's something I was like, no, I'm holding on to that, but I need to like keep stacking it up so that way I can keep getting my ego up, whatever,
Yeah.
But I think I've grown in just the way of having a godly confidence over a worldly confidence, I guess you could say. And honestly, it's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
To the younger listeners, it's the best feeling in the world. And I know it's hard to hear right now because you're like, but it feels so good when that guy says, oh, you look beautiful today, or you look hot, whatever. But it's just so much sweeter when you can say that you've developed that with your Heavenly Father.
Yeah. And then also there's like that extreme, but then also like when you don't get the compliment or when you find out someone says, oh, you're not that cute, so-and-so is cuter, and your body isn't the body of some model, so like I don't want you, then that doesn't just roll off of you, that stays because you've allowed other opinions to stay as well. So when you're letting other people's like good opinions stay, you're also allowing the bad opinions to stay too. Because if good opinions are affecting your life, bad ones will too. And not saying that things people say about me don't still hurt, but when it comes to looks and when it comes to boys and things like that, obviously we're both in a relationship, so it's a little bit different now. But right before I got into a relationship was like the season of life where I was finally like confident in myself. I didn't need a boy's opinion. I was thriving spiritually because I wasn't like, this boy, that boy, this boy, that boy, I want this boy, I want that boy. It was like, no, I'm so over it. And yeah, I just wanted to share that because a lot of girls have this like boy crazy thing. And it's totally okay to like boys. I prefer that you like boys. But find the good ones. You know, if boys are mean and they most of the time are not worth the time of day. So be patient because they'll bring the good ones. And we have the good ones.
Yes, but a little bit going back, you're talking about like whenever you let those words build you up, it can also tear you down super easily. Pastor Jill in chapel one time gave this illustration of this glass of water, and it was a little bit ago, and then she was like, this is you whenever you let people's words affect you. And then it was like she poured Coke in there, and then the water eventually got diluted and turned brown. And then she had another glass of, maybe it was glue or silicone or something. Mm-hmm. And it was like, this is you. I think it was glue. She was like, this is you whenever you're filled up with your word every single day. This is you whenever people speak those words over you. And she poured the Coke. And I mean, like, yes, some stuff got in there, but the majority of it overflowed rather than it just flowing directly into the water. So that's what it made me think of. So.
Yeah. Words are just... they hurt. No matter what people say, like, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me.
They lied.
Lie, because the Bible says differently. Words matter. Your words matter.
Yeah.
What you allow people to say to you matters. I've learned that I just need to cut people off when they say or do rude things to me, which has been hard for me because I'm not a stander-upper girl. Kaleigh's a stander-upper girl.
Blair, you do it.
But I hope you all enjoyed my best friend, third time on the podcast, Podcast Pro.
Number 3.
And this won't be the last because we're going to be friends for decades.
Yes.
And she'll be on the podcast when I'm 90.
Yes.
Hopefully. She's older than me.
You're all the same age.
Wait.
Yeah. 20.
But you're like 3 months
3 months older than you. Whatever.
All right, y'all. That's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And if you are not already, make sure you're following the Straight Up Christian Podcast on Instagram at Straight Up Christian Podcast. And I'll also put Kaleigh's Instagram in the description so you can follow her too if you want. And please, please, please leave a review wherever you listen, wherever you stream it, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or even if you watch it, please like, comment, subscribe, and comment a quote-unquote review of the podcast, or just tell me how you're feeling. Tell me if you like the conversation. And if you're listening, please leave a review. Tell me how you're liking it. And if you have anything that you would like me to talk about, you can always DM me on Instagram at Straight Up Christian Podcast, or you can comment on something. So please just let me know if there's anything that you want me to talk about. And lastly, make sure that you get ready because our next episode is going to be on November 25th at 12 a.m. It's going to be great, so please get ready and listen. And I hope you all have a great rest of your week.